We are here in Cambridge at HubSpot, which has a very big announcement today in the form of $32 million. Brian Halligan is the CEO and founder of HubSpot. Talk to us about this $32 million investment and the three companies involved in this investment, please.
Yeah, we're absolutely thrilled. Three new investors coming into HubSpot to invest $32 million. Three really interesting ones, actually. A venture fund called Sequoia Capital on the West Coast. Really have respected them for a long time. They invested in Google and Yahoo and Cisco and so many great companies, so we're thrilled to have them involved. A little company called Google Ventures is investing. Thrilled about that because we are sort of in the internet marketing space. And the third one is Salesforce.com. So those three are coming together to invest $32 million in HubSpot.
Now, did those three companies come to you and say, we want to invest, or did you pitch to them saying that we're looking for some funds?
It started, we were actually planning on raising a round of debt towards the end of last year, and while I was on the West Coast, I went to visit Sequoia. They had reached out to me just to chat and get to know them, and they were very aggressive, impressively so, and sort of were like, well, what's it going to take for us to invest? Skip the debt, let's do a round. So those guys got the ball rolling. And kind of while we're at it, I was also in some discussions with Salesforce.com, and one thing led to another with them. And the Google guys we proactively reached out to, since we were going to do something with Sequoia, and Salesforce were like, let's see if Google would like to get involved.
Well, now that you sort of are in the front door with Salesforce and with Google, is there any more immediate plans for integration with those two companies?
Yep, there'll be a ton more integration. We've already got an integration with Salesforce.com on the CRM side. We'll have much deeper, richer integration coming out going forward. As they come out with new products, we'll do really rich integration with their new products as well. So we'll get much more tightly integrated with Salesforce. Same with Google. You'll be able to log into HubSpot with your Google ID. I would like to do some stuff down the road with Google AdWords and connecting that with HubSpot. Maybe work with the Google Enterprise folks. So there's big opportunities around integration with those products.
Now, we are hearing that some of the $32 million will be taken off the table. Will you be using any of that money that you'll be getting from the deal to maybe invest in any of the startups here in the Boston area?
We might. It's true, part of the $32 million is going to some existing investors, some angel investors and some execs in the company. The money that's coming into the company, we have earmarked some to do some M&A. We've never done any acquisitions before, so we're not going to go do 100, but we'll probably try to do one. We've been looking around, we've sniffed at a couple things. The prices are a little high, but I wouldn't be shocked to see us do a deal. And we'd love to buy a company in Boston, but we're sort of looking nationally for really good fits.
And if somebody maybe is watching this this video and saying, hey, we'd love it if HubSpot would invest in our startup, hopefully in the Boston area, what should they do? How should they get in contact with you? What are the steps that need to be taken for you to sort of consider investing? Or do you kind of feel that any company in Boston that's worth investing in, you probably already kind of know about it?
Probably, yeah. We've got a guy, Brad Coffey's his name, who's looking into this M&A stuff, and you can reach out to Brad Coffey. You can find him on Twitter. You can email him here at HubSpot. We're easy to find.
So of the $32 million, how much are we thinking will be taken off the table?
10 of it, and a lot of it's going to our angel investors who are getting bought out for the most part.
Okay, now you currently have 4,000 clients in 31 countries. What's the ultimate goal? How far do you want to expand with HubSpot?
You know, I tell people I want to be taken out of here in a stretcher. You know, we're building this thing. We want it to be a multi-billion-dollar beast that really transforms the way every company does marketing. So instead of doing cold calls and email blasts and advertisements, how do you pull people in from Google and social media sites and blogs and things like that? And just a giant market opportunity. So we are swinging hard. Part of the reason we raised this round is we want to knock it over the fence. And so we want to build a giant company, West Coast style, like Salesforce.com, like Google, like Amazon, one of those guys.
West Coast style on the East Coast, right?
Yes,
so you will not be leaving Boston after this round of funding or anytime soon?
No chance of us leaving Boston at this point.
As we were just talking a few minutes ago about outbound marketing versus inbound marketing, of course, HubSpot is known for the inbound marketing, sort of saying goodbye to cold calls and email blasts and things like that. Do you think that Google's investment in your company is somewhat of a defensive mechanism for them?
I don't know if they're thinking about it like that. They could be. It's a big company. Lots of people are involved. I think they thought it was a good investment, and they thought there was good synergy, and I think they thought they could make a lot of money on their investment in HubSpot. I'm not sure they were thinking it was a defensive measure.
And you guys are still hiring a lot more people. What's your goal for this year in terms of numbers?
That's a good question. I have to look at it. We'll probably hire 75 or so people this year, something like that. We're continuing to hire, particularly hiring on the R&D side. We've got very aggressive R&D hiring goals. We're trying to find the best and brightest software engineers in Boston around the country to come work for us.
Now, wasn't it true if somebody made a recommendation for one of these guys, you get $10,000? But doesn't that almost on the street sort of send the message that you're a little desperate that you can't find your own guys? Or did it backfire a little bit?
I don't think so. It actually worked. It filled our funnel with a lot of crap came in the top of our funnel in terms of potential R&D people, but some nuggets were in there too. We hired 10 people this month, so it really worked. Our bar is very high, and it's very hard to get in here. So it caused some problems like just separating the wheat from the chaff, but we got some really good guys in there. And I don't think we're desperate. We just are growing unnaturally fast. And so we're trying to do unnatural things to grow the R&D heads. And our alternative really is, we can go buy a company. Let's say you go buy a business with 10 engineers in it for $5 million. Oh, that's $500,000 a head. And the math we sort of did is, why don't we just give away a $10,000 signing bonus and incent people to come to work for us? I'd rather give somebody $10,000 that I know than give some startup, $500,000 a head for their engineers, which is a way that the math kind of works on the West Coast when they buy companies for talent.
You were just saying how your company is growing remarkably fast. Is there a concern in terms of keeping the sort of culture the same here at HubSpot as it grows? What's sort of the give and take with that sort of situation that you're in? Definitely
concerned about it. We've got for better or for worse, we've got a very unique culture here at HubSpot, and we're trying to build people think we're trying to build a startup culture. We're really not. We're trying to build a postmodern culture. The culture is really inspired by that show Mad Men. Have you ever seen the show Mad Men?
I've seen the show, yes.
Okay. In Mad Men, it's sort of a spoof on companies 50 years ago, and I was sitting there watching Mad Men, and I thought, what is the spoof going to be like 50 years ago from now about companies today? And I said, let's build a culture that's built for 50 years from now. So we're trying to build this postmodern culture. And so from the ground up, we've got this unique cultural aspect, and I hope it sticks. So far, so good.
You just made a comment about startups and how you're trying not to be maybe the company to look at as the startup example. Does that mean that you're not necessarily focused in getting involved in more smaller startups? I mean, I know you said you're thinking about one company potentially, but is that sort of the end of the startup world for you guys?
We're super active in the startup community. My co-founder is one of the most active angels in Boston, and I'm an entrepreneur in residence over at MIT where I help as many startups as I can. So we're going to stay very, very involved in the startup community. I still think of HubSpot as a startup. I was just sort of responding to some stuff online. It's about HubSpot's trying to create a startup culture. Sort of. We're really trying to create a postmodern culture.
And sort of talk to us about the future of marketing and how do you think things are sort of evolve? I mean, first, we have inbound marketing, which didn't exist a few years ago. What is it going to look like 10 years from now? Or even, let's say, 5 years from now. It's probably more realistic, you could probably say.
Sure. When I think about marketing, I actually think about the horse and buggy industry. The horse and buggy industry, 100 years ago, there were 16,000 companies in it, making tires and wheels and horses and harnesses. And 100 years later, today, there's only one company left, a company called Timken. I think marketing is going to go through a similar, just radical transformation. I think inbound marketing is going to transform traditional marketing, just like the car transformed the horse and buggy. And I think we're really just in the first inning of that game. You still see the way marketers market, spending tons of money on advertising, buying lists, spamming lists. I just think it's busted, and it's going to get more busted as time goes on.
Do you think that this new round of investment is sort of once again putting Cambridge on the spot as being a place to do some major marketing across the country?
I do. It's one of my pet rocks. My personal feeling is I think Madison Avenue implodes over the next 5 to 10 years. I'm not sure who's watching those television ads they're creating, and I think it just blows up. And I want Boston to be the next generation Madison Avenue, and HubSpot's one of the pieces to that. But there's a bunch of interesting thinkers around here about the future of marketing, like Chris Brogan and David Meerman Scott. We have the Future M conference, so that's a big, big pet rock of mine, is I want HubSpot to be one of the bedrocks to make that transformation happen. If we've sort of, Silicon Valley's outpaced us on the internet, we sort of want to be the Silicon Valley of marketing. We want to win that game.
And now with this new money as well, do you plan on doing any more TV shows? I know you have your Friday show. Do you plan on expanding it all in that arena?
Not that I've heard of. Could be in the works, but not that I've heard of.
So you've heard a lot about the silver coif that's been talked about
Yes.
at Bostinno. Is this going to become more of like a golden hue to the hair now, or where are we going?
I think, actually, we announced this news to the company last night, and they were playing a Grateful Dead song called Touch of Gray, and I think that's suitable given that it was silvery before. It's getting more and more gray as time goes on.
Okay, Brian Halligan, thank you very much for talking with us